Did you yell America when you hit the accelerator?
Nope, no.
And now, your favorite two blue-collar nobodies to give you their quiet perspective, Star-Lord and Joey.
You can't handle the truth!
Welcome back, Quiet Perspectives fans. I am your Captain Star-Lord, along here with my XO Joey.
What's going on, everybody?
Today's show, we are going to give you our running commentary on the Democratic debate in Nevada and the doozy that it was.
And boy, was it. Last night, me and Star-Lord actually watched the entire 2-hour debacle that was the Democrat debate. The first thing that Star-Lord and I noticed was there seemed to be several different underlying themes, and one of the first ones that we had already kind of heard about, a lot of people were predicting that the other candidates were going to be going after Mike Bloomberg because this is his first debate. They did at the very beginning, and they did it early and often. So let's take a look.
None of them accused me of doing anything other than maybe they didn't like the joke I told. And let me point, there's agreements between two parties that wanted to keep it quiet, and that's up to them.
We are not going to beat Donald Trump with a man who has who knows how many non-disclosure agreements and the drip, drip, drip of stories of women saying they have been harassed and discriminated against. That's not what we do as Democrats.
Anybody that does anything wrong in our company, we investigate it, and if it's appropriate, they're gone that day. In City Hall, the top person, my deputy mayor, was a woman, and 40% of our commissioners were women.
I hope you heard what his defense was. I've been nice to some women. That just doesn't cut it.
Mr. Bloomberg had policies in New York City of stop and frisk, which went after African American and Latino people in an outrageous way.
I've asked for forgiveness, but the bottom line is that we stopped too many people, but the policy, we stopped too many people.
It's not whether he apologized or not, it's the policy. The policy was abhorrent.
Yeah, Bloomberg got hammered right off the bat. Whoever, the people were saying that they were going to be going after him weren't wrong.
They did, and he had nothing for it. All of his responses, it was like he wasn't even expecting it, which is hard to believe. I don't know, maybe he didn't think they would have the audacity to bring up all the non-disclosure agreements. So what she's talking about is there were several lawsuits filed against him, like a lot, and they were all settled out of court, I guess, and the victims signed non-disclosure agreements. They were all for harassment and all kinds of things. And so that's what she was talking about. And apparently that's his answer. His answer was, it's a non-disclosure agreement. Get over it, pretty much. They were attacking him for being a sexist and everything.
Yeah, you're right. I agree with you. He was not prepared for them bringing that up. I mean, it was basically like he got caught with his pants down and didn't know what to say.
That's probably what the non-disclosure agreements were about, was his pants being down.
Yeah, probably.
But her point is valid. What are these non-disclosure? I mean, there is a whole thing about him being sexist and doing all kinds of inappropriate harassment, sexual harassment, all kinds of things. And he had no answer for it. So that in itself is very, very telling.
Yeah, and I'm not defending the guy. I mean, I think he's a scumbag. He just seems like an ass, but I mean, we don't really know what was happening. And the fact of the matter is, people could easily say, well, what about Trump? What about him paying off a porn star?
Yeah, but he fucked her, and I don't care. Now, if dude's out there blatantly just raping bitches and, well, putting on his rape shoes at 5 o'clock or what, so we don't know what he's doing. But it is a valid question, and so to me, I think it carries a lot of weight. Especially, it carries a lot more weight with other voters. I mean, a lot of people put a lot of stock into their personal lives and stuff. So I do think it's going to be. I think that in itself was completely damaging to him. That was terrible to him during that debate. He looked terrible on that.
Yeah, he really did. He got smoked.
Elizabeth Warren went after him hard on that. She was actually really ruthless the entire debate with everybody.
Yeah, and her and Klobuchar were doing the pandering to women thing the whole time, too.
Oh, yeah, she was definitely playing the woman card. All right, so what do we got next?
Another kind of underlying theme that we noticed was all the candidates throughout the entire thing, throughout the entire 2-hour debate, at one point or another, all of them did it. They all kept attacking wealthy people, as if everything that's wrong with this country is the fault of people with a lot of money.
I love this part. It's this part, I think.
Oh, it is.
Mike Bloomberg owns more wealth than the bottom 125 million Americans. That's wrong. That's immoral.
It's ridiculous. We're not going to throw out capitalism. We tried that. Other countries tried that. It was called communism, and it just didn't work.
Let's talk about democratic socialism, not communism, Mr. Bloomberg. That's a cheap shot.
A wonderful country we have. The best-known socialist in the country happens to be a millionaire with 3 houses. What I miss here?
Well, you'll miss that I work in Washington, House 1.
That's the first problem.
Live in Burlington, House 2.
That's good.
And like thousands of other Vermonters, I do have a summer camp. Forgive me for that. Where is your home? Which tax haven do you have your home?
New York City, thank you very much, and I pay all my taxes.
Okay, so that is my absolute favorite clip from the entire debate.
It's just like we were talking last night. Everybody on that stage, by most normal people's standards, is completely loaded. They're all rich, and they're attacking each other for it.
What gets me is Bernie's attacking him for being richer than him, as if he's not rich. Like, he's actually playing the card of the poor person, and he has 3 homes, like he just pointed out.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, you know how it is. I mean, you know how it is to have all these extra houses and how relatable that is, right?
Yeah, how detached from reality are they? And I like how he said it nonchalantly, like you or I are going to understand this. Well, yeah, I got 3 homes. 1, I work in D.C. 2, I live here. And like 1,000 other people, I have a summer camp in Vermont or wherever it was. That does not connect to me or any of your base. I'm sorry. Or at least what they think is their base.
Yeah, I'm sorry. If as far as I'm concerned, if you've got, your primary residence, your primary home, and you've got a second house or a summer home or summer camp, you're pretty well off, and that's who they're attacking.
Yeah, he's literally saying the billionaire has too much money. And this is what I love about all these, especially the millennials, all the socialist Democrat, the Antifa people, all these people who want to get rid of the loan debt, student loan debt and everything, is they're looking at somebody above them thinking they have too much. They don't realize there's someone below them thinking they have too much. And that's the perfect example right there. Bernie is looking at a billionaire saying he's gone too far. What about the people under you, Bernie, who are saying you've gone too? They don't stop to think about the shoe being on the other foot.
Yeah, and the problem with that attitude is if you're the least wealthy person in the room and you're poor and everybody else above you is a bad person because they're more wealthy than you and they should be like you, then everybody becomes poor.
And that's why it fails. That's why communism, because it eventually trickles down. Wherever they set the bar for rich, eventually they won't be rich because you're taking their money. So you have to lower that bar, keep going down, 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 and down until there's red lines.
Yep. And therein lies the problem with socialism. All right. So now that we've established that amassing personal wealth is a bad thing, for some reason, let's go ahead and move on to the next item on the agenda. And that's going to be health care. Let's see what the candidates had to say about that.
On this issue with the culinary union, obviously their leaders are warning their members about that your health care plan will take away their health care plan, take away private insurance completely. There are some Democrats who like you a lot, but worry that this plan, Medicare for All, is going to take away private insurance and that it goes too far. Are they right?
No. Let me be very clear. 2 points. For 100 years, from Teddy Roosevelt to Barack Obama, this country has been talking about the need to guarantee health care for all people. And yet today, despite spending twice as much per capita, Chuck, twice as much as any other major country on earth, we got 87 million who are uninsured or underinsured. We got over 60,000 people who die every year because they don't get to a doctor on time. We're getting ripped off outrageously by the greed and corruption of the pharmaceutical industry, which in some cases charges us 10 times more for the same drugs because of their price fixing. 500,000 people go bankrupt every year because they can't afford medical bills. So let me be very clear to my good friends in the Culinary Workers Union, a great union. I will never sign a bill that will reduce the health care benefits they have. We will only expand it for them, for every union in America, and for the working class of this country.
I'm the only one on this stage that actually got anything done on health care. Okay? I'm the guy the president turned to and said, go get the votes.
So he's to blame for that shit.
Well, he just proudly admitted to being part of it. Now, here's the thing, and I actually got into an argument with somebody just a few weeks ago about this. You see Bernie's throwing out all these statistics over the last, 100 years, which includes the previous 8 or 10. 87 million people uninsured or underinsured, 500,000 people going into bankruptcy because they can't pay their medical bills, yada, yada, yada. A lot of people still think that Obamacare was repealed when Trump got into office.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people need to understand that Obamacare is still alive and well and still in place. And, the Obamacare that Biden was so proud of being part of, wasn't that supposed to be the savior in all this? What happened with that? And why isn't anybody talking about that? Why is it so bad right now and Obamacare's still around?
Yeah, when they rolled that out, it was a clusterfuck to begin with. I know personally, my health insurance jumped up. I think it was 228% or 230%. Our premiums went up, our monthly went up, deductibles went up, and for less care. That's how much ours went up. I'm middle class, blue collar guy, and we had to pay out the butt just to keep insurance.
Now, did you have to get an Obamacare plan?
No. That was just my normal health care.
Oh, okay, so your private insurance got affected by Obamacare. And you're not the only one. I know of several people that got their insurance rates jacked up when Obamacare came out. There's one guy that I went to school with. He was paying probably about $500 a month for him and his wife, and I think 2 or 3 kids, and $500, $550 or something like that for the family, medical plan. And his jumped up to $1,500 and something a month. I mean, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm. And I'll do you one better. Because my stuff did skyrocket, I did look into Obamacare. Didn't qualify because I made too much money.
Of course you didn't.
So there's that. And I want to talk about the smoke and mirrors of their Obamacare, because it's going to be the model for everything they try to push. Is they said, now everybody has insurance. You have millions of people who didn't have insurance before. Now they do. If you ever looked at their plans, because I looked at them, they're paying $10 a month and they have insurance. Okay, their $10 a month comes with a $100,000 deductible, a $10,000 copay, and stuff like that. That's not insurance. You can't use it until you've paid your deductible. That's not insurance. That's smoke and mirrors.
Oh, absolutely it is. And who can afford that?
I know I'm not the only one. I don't have that just laying around to throw at a hospital when you need it. You know what I mean?
No, I know I don't have it either.
Well, here's a question I have about all the healthcare and everything. I get it. You want everybody to have healthcare. I mean, I think every Republican thinks that's a good idea. Everybody should be able to afford it and have it, correct? That's a good thing. Why do we have to get rid of private insurance just to give everybody else insurance? Why does it have to be one or the other?
Well, that's one thing we haven't talked about or seen Buttigieg or Amy Klobuchar in the video. Matter of fact, I don't think they're included in any of the clips that I chose for the the different issues or whatever. But I will give Buttigieg. I would never vote for him just because of all his other crazy shit that he wants to do. But I will give him credit, and we talked about it last night. He was the only one up there that actually kind of made a little bit of sense here and there. And that was one of the things that he said when the others were talking about their plans for healthcare. They weren't coming right out and saying it like they have been, but they want to take away private insurance. Pete Buttigieg said, well, why can't we just, help the people that need the help and not force it on the ones who don't need it, and to where they can keep their private insurance, like you just said. And that seems to make the most sense, but that's not what the other ones want.
Yeah, he definitely made the most sense, and he was the most level-headed one up there, which says to me that he won't get the nomination because they're going completely ridiculous left. I do have a question. I know here in the state of Texas, we have Medicaid, Medicare. That's for lower income people to get insurance, right? Is that how
Yeah, those are both federal, right?
is it? Oh, so it is federal. So I'm trying to figure out, why are there people, and this is me being ignorant. How come people don't have insurance? That is the low income stuff. I mean, don't people get that for free?
Well, the way I understand it is Medicare is for the elderly, and Medicaid is more of the welfare type situation for low income families and stuff like that.
Okay, so I'm trying to figure out what the hell is wrong with that. First of all, if that's the case, why don't we fix that system and make that perfect? Why do we have to take away from anybody? And two, what is wrong with that system that we're not covering people?
Well, I can tell you right off the bat what's wrong with it. It's government run. I mean, think about when you go get your license at the DPS office. I mean, how much fun is that? Or anything that you have to do there? Or if you've ever had to go to a Social Security office for anything. I've had to go with my mom before, and it's just a big government bureaucracy, and it's inefficient, and it's the exact example of why you don't want the government running healthcare. And just to add to that, let's not forget that when the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare came out, don't forget that the government, the politicians voted to keep their own insurance, and they weren't going to go with Obamacare. They didn't want it. So what makes you think that any regular American wants it?
Yep. Speaks volumes.
Okay, so that's what they had to say about healthcare. Let's go ahead and move on to the last major topic that was discussed, and that's going to be my favorite, climate change.
What you might not know is that Las Vegas and Reno are the vibrant economic engines for the state of Nevada, and are also two of the fastest warming cities in the country. In certain months
What
of
the
the
fuck?
year,
The desert's
heat
hot?
is already an emergency situation for residents and for tourists walking up and down the strip.
But it wasn't that way 10 years ago, I guess. It's the fucking desert.
Yeah, I also like how he said a couple months out of the year, the heat becomes an emergency situation for residents and tourists. If it's becoming the face of the sun, why are people spending thousands of dollars to go there on vacation?
Hey, you guys want to die this weekend? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, let's go to Vegas.
Let's risk it. It's not like you walk outside to go to work and melt one day. I mean, what the fuck?
Exactly.
So let's touch on climate change. All the bit. Like we said last night, there's nobody. No common sense person, nobody on the right or left, who wants to destroy the planet. There's nobody who is against clean energy. That is a great thing. Do we, as human beings, affect our environment, pollute our environment, change the earth? Absolutely. Do I think we're fucking going to die in 5 years and we're destroying it to the point where our children are going to die? No, absolutely not. I think that's ridiculous. But they were all talking, I don't know if you got more clips on it or not, but they were all talking about, I think even Bernie said, closing down 80 factories of coal run or something. Like, okay, yeah, that's smart. You're going to, one, put a whole bunch of people out of job. And two, you and I talked at length about it. What's the replacement? If we can get rid of fossil fuels that pollute the environment, I'm all for it. If we have a better option, you can't just get rid of it.
Okay, so it's like you have a job, right?
Yes.
And I don't know, do you love your job?
It's a job.
Okay, so imagine, tomorrow you discover this other job that you really would enjoy going to, and you make more money and everything.
Mm-hmm.
You would probably go to that job.
Absolutely.
Okay, now imagine that job doesn't exist. The new, better job doesn't exist. You're not just going to quit your job tomorrow hoping you find a better job, are you?
Well, in their world, yeah. It's a very good analogy right there. I like that. Yeah, you're right. You have to have something to replace it. You can't just bitch about it and get rid of it. Especially something that's the life force of our. We are the number one energy producer in the world. That's kind of a big deal. And they want, which means we're making money off of it. We're sustaining ourselves. We don't have to rely on other countries. They just want to flat out get rid of it with no other plan in place.
It's those greedy capitalists again. All right, so let's go ahead. We kind of got off on a tangent there. Let's go back to the video and see what they have to say about the climate.
So I'm going to start with you, Mr. Vice President. What specific policies would you implement that would keep Las Vegas and Reno livable, but also not hurt those economies?
It is the existential threat that humanity faces, global warming. I went out to Tech, and you have a facility where you have one of the largest solar panel arrays in the world. And when the fourth stage is completed, it will be able to take care of 60,000 homes for every single bit of their needs. And what I would do is, number one, work on providing the $47 billion we have for tech and to making sure we find answers, is to provide a way to transmit that wind and solar energy across the network of the United States. Invest in battery technology. I would immediately reinstate all of the elimination of what Trump has eliminated in terms of EPA. I would secondly make sure that we had 500,000 new charging stations in every new highway we built in the United States of America or repaired.
I love that part.
I would make sure that we once again make sure that we got the mileage standards back up, which would have saved over 12 billion barrels of oil had he not walked away from it.
Let me read what you said about this issue. You said you want to intensify U.S. and international actions to stop the expansion of coal. How exactly are you going to do that?
Well, already we've closed 304 out of the 530 coal-fired power plants in the United States.
Wonderful.
And we've closed 80 out of the 200 or 300 that are in Europe. Bloomberg Philanthropies working with the Sierra Club. That's one of the things you do. But just let's start at the beginning. If you're president, the first thing you do the first day is you rejoin the Paris Agreement. This is just ridiculous for us to drop out. Two, America's responsibility is to be the leader in the world.
Which
and if
we are.
Don't, we're the ones that are going to get hurt just as much as anybody else. And that's why I don't want to have us cut off all relationships with China, because you will never solve this problem without China and India, Western Europe, and America. That's where most of the greenhouse gas.
The tension here in this state is between people who want renewable energy and people who want conservation on public lands. 85% of Nevada is managed by the federal government. You have said that you are going to have an executive order that would stop drilling on public land, stop mining, which is a huge industry here. You got to have lithium, you got to have copper for renewable energy. How do you do that?
So look, I think we should stop all new drilling and mining on public lands and all offshore drilling. If we need to make exceptions because there are specific minerals that we've got to have access to, then we locate those and we do it not in a way that just is about the profits of giant industries, but in a way that is sustainable for the environment.
But Senator Sanders, I'm going to move to fracking. You want a total ban on natural gas extraction, fracking in the next 5 years. The industry obviously supports a lot of jobs around the country, including thousands in the battleground state of Pennsylvania. One unit official there told the New York Times, quote, "If we end up with a Democratic candidate that supports a fracking ban, I'm going to tell my members that either you don't vote or you vote for the other guy." What do you tell these workers? It's supporting a big industry right now, sir.
What I tell these workers is that the scientists are telling us that if we don't act incredibly boldly within the next 6-7 years, there will be irreparable damage done, not just to Nevada, not just to Vermont or Massachusetts, but to the entire world. Joe said it right. This is an existential threat. That means we're fighting for the future of this planet. And the Green New Deal that I support, by the way, will create up to 20 million good-paying jobs as we move our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy.
Okay, that is so much bullshit to swallow. Jesus Christ. So I want to point out right off the bat, again, none of them had a replacement plan. All they had to do was stop, which is absolutely fucking right. Stop, and lose your job, with no other plan in place. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, what about Elizabeth Warren? I mean, her big plan is to stop drilling on public lands for resources and minerals that we need, and on a case-by-case basis, find the minerals and resources and get them then. What is that?
What the fuck do you think we're doing? We're not pulling it out of the ground and dumping it in the ocean. We're not eating it like, or just serving it at fast food places.
And then there was the part that she said right after that that wasn't in the clip that we have, about talking about stuff that hasn't been invented yet. We need to stop what we're doing and just stop everything and hope that we can invent some shit in the U.S. And then, of course, she had to fall back on the old, greedy, wealthy people, the corporations.
And that's how they're trying to play that. You heard what she said. So these companies are making a profit. Bitch, they're taking a product and they're selling it. It's not like it's just sitting there. They're not sitting there hoarding it in the back of a shed, stroking it. My precious. No, it's capitalism. It's why you are a millionaire, you dumb bitch.
Oh boy. Yeah, so that was pretty much the gist of the entire debate. Just a lot of nothing.
Yeah, the whole debate, as you would expect, was all about politic. And so, the two women up there were playing the woman card, the victim card. And I love this. Bernie was playing the I'm the poor guy card because there's a billionaire up here. And then Bloomberg was just a deer in the headlights. Oh, shit, they found out about it. All the stuff they were talking about. And it was hard to watch. I mean, it was dumb, incoherent. There wasn't as much as I thought there was, but there was a lot of Biden eating his words as they came out.
Yeah, I was really expecting crazy Uncle Joe to say something really stupid, but I mean, besides fumbling some words, he didn't do too bad, I guess.
I know, go off on some story about corn pop and kids playing with his hair underwater. I don't know.
Yeah, or some lion dog-faced pony soldiers.
But in the end, I got to say, if I were on that side, because I mean, try to look at it unbiasedly. If I was on that side, there was nobody up there that swayed me other than me. I would say Booty Leg won. He was the only one that formed any complete thoughts, anything that made sense. He was actually using logic. And of course, they attacked him. Everybody else out-politicked him and made him shut up. And he was the only one that formed any complete sentences that actually had any answers. So that's the Cliff Notes on the debate, which was a complete debacle. I think it was horrible. And the general consensus from the media outlets that I've seen is that it was a complete debacle. It was outrageous. I mean, everybody pretty much had the same consensus we did. That being said, I think Bloomberg is going to take a huge hit on it. I am very curious to see how his numbers are going to go after that. I really want to know.
Yeah, it was pretty much as ridiculous as I expected it to be, and it was a good reminder of why I don't usually watch these things. I think the Democrat Party's already got who they want picked, and I think this is all just a dog and pony show, to be honest. But we'll see.
So that's the debate in a nutshell. That's our commentary on it. And if you don't like it, well, you're wrong. So this is Star-Lord and Joey signing off.